Hello, everybody, and welcome to Man's Model Moments Midweek Model Meet. I'm having a small issue at the moment in that I can't actually hear anything on the webcast here because for some reason, my computer doesn't want to do that. There's some setting somewhere where it sometimes uses the speakers fine and other times it does not. And today is one of those times when it's just decided not to. But anyway, hopefully you can all hear me because that's the important bit. It doesn't really matter if I can't hear myself. So I've abandoned the green screen. Well, I mean, obviously it's still there. But I thought it gives me so many problems on these streams. I just thought I won't actually have it on tonight. But anyway, let's have a little look. We've got quite a few people in. So I see the Little Things Junkie, I see Adrian, I see John Alec. John Alec has a video out tonight on the Lysander, so be sure to watch that later. We have Steve Horman. We have John X. We've got Raymond Seuss. We have Howard Kendrick. And I think that brings us up to present. Simon's Modelling Shed. So I had a delivery today, even though it's the shop isn't open on a Wednesday. I sometimes go in and I do recording, and sometimes go in because I've got deliveries going in. And today was one of those things. Just let me put this on. There we go. That gives me a bit of light. So tonight I do have some kits I could show you. I've also thought, basically, if you've got any questions, I can answer those. I'll tell you a little bit about what's been going on behind the scenes. I'm aware I planned to put a video out on Saturday, but actually the shop was super busy on Saturday, so I didn't get a chance to finish the editing in time. And then this week has also been quite busy. So a lot going on with the shop, so that's good. Got some more deliveries coming tomorrow. Lots of stuff happening, so that's all good. Back in my yard is here. Hello, Catherine. She says, question, and raises a very good point. If anybody has any questions or comments, if you put question or comment or QQQ, CCC in capitals, just helps me pick it out of the chat. It's not too bad on a stream like this where I'm just going through the chat more. But good practice anyway. Hello, Alex. It's so very nice to see you again. You're a cutie. Thank you very much. Might I ask, what is your favourite kind of takeaway? Undoubtedly, it's Indian. Unfortunately, we're very fortunate in Wincanton to have a really good, the Wincanton Tandoori is a great takeaway. It has a small restaurant area. It used to do a lot more before COVID, and they've kind of brought them back now. It's got like 3 or 4 tables. It's not a huge amount. But that's where John Christmas came. Andy Bowden came to visit me at the shop this weekend as well, and they went there. He and his dad went there afterwards. So it's a nice takeaway. They're very flexible. If you're vegetarian, for instance, they'll do paneer. They'll substitute paneer for any of the meats. But yeah, curry is it's one of those things that you always order too much of, and you always end up eating too much. It always lasts for a few days. It's good hot or cold. It's delicious. There's so many different types. I'm not into really hot curries, but I think there's such a variety. So yeah, definitely an Indian takeaway. Just having a look, we've got Julian, we've got W Stiller Photos. We've got Brian Smee. Lox9 is in. Good to see you guys. My mouse is having a bit of a fit. Don't know what it's doing. Graham McRobbit broke a bone in my foot last week, but up and walking about. Ooh, it's funny actually. I've never actually broken a bone properly. I've had hairline fractures. I fractured this finger playing cricket when I was a kid, and I had a hairline fracture of my little toe on my right foot. It's surprising how painful that is, and also how debilitating it is, because you think, I broke a little toe or like fractured it or whatever, like hairline fracture. That's fine. I'm going to be able to actually use your little toes a lot for balance. So it's actually really difficult to walk, which sounds ridiculous, but it's true. Julian, no green screen. Well, I've got a green screen. I just haven't put it on because the problem comes when you have differing light levels. So you set it, and say for the light at the moment, the ambient light and the light I've got here, it'll be fine. Now, when it starts to get darker, as the outside light goes down, even though you can't really perceive it that much because your eyes are very good at compensating, computers and electronics aren't so good. It's actually really apparent in TV. So for TV and filming indoors and outdoors, when you transition, they generally switch to another camera because it's a whole load of different settings. The cameras don't have the dynamic range that your eyes do. Your eyes have phenomenal dynamic range. So yeah, it's because it's caused so many problems on streams before. I just thought, you know what, we're amongst friends. You can just have a green screen; it'll be fine, right? Raymond Seuss says, "What would be a good HMS hood upgrade for 1/350th scale?" Ooh, well, talking to the wrong person if you're talking about model ships. I think, to be honest, there's a lot of photo etch sets out for ships. I've done 1/700th scale photo etch for ships, and it's hard work. I think 1/350th, it's just as much work, but you're just working on different things. I would probably, I just wouldn't do a ship. I think that's probably it. So maybe the chat will be able to give you a better answer than that. Chroma Fleet Yards is in. Good to see you, Chroma. And Andrew as well. I'm David of the Valleys. So if I don't call your name out, if I've missed you in the chat, apologies. It's just I try to read out when people come in. Don't always get it. If I miss you, welcome anyway. It isn't personal. It's just I'm rubbish at remembering what I've said. Now I'm just making a little poll because as I mentioned, I have some kits here that I could go through with you guys if you fancy looking at some, or as I mentioned, I can talk about anything you guys like. I haven't got any particular topics, or rather I have quite a lot of topics, but I don't know whether you want to talk about them. So one topic, right, and other people have been talking about this as well. I got my Airfix Club magazine the other day, and I don't know where I put it. I think I threw it across the room in disgust because it is absolute shite. It is just like there's a double page spread of the box art from the Robin Hood figures, for instance, just to take up space. There's a double spread of the Phantom box art. Which is nice and all, but it's just there to take up space. The editorial is about, I don't know, 100 words. They recycled articles in there. They did one on the ME 410, which is like, it's, I just, it's so infuriating to see them going down. And they've stopped their affiliate program. They basically sent an email to everybody who's in the affiliate program. I'm not. I had applied to the Hornby affiliate program years ago, and I must be on their database, but never actually did anything with it. And they sent me the email anyway saying, "Oh, hi, we're ending this. Like, come the 31st of August, it won't work anymore." And then they killed it the next day. It's like, okay. Just a travesty, really. So these are the interesting kits I have. Just putting them in here, and then I'll show you. So yeah, I was really. It was shocking. It's not just that it was just like, oh, this isn't a particularly good one. I've got the IPMS magazine. Funnily enough, I think the day before, or maybe a couple of days before. And I don't think much of the IPMS magazine. I think it's a waste of money for the society, but that's a different issue. But the thing is, the difference in quality is just astonishing. Of course, I want to do a side-by-side comparison. I can't find my Airfix one. I think I might have accidentally recycled it. Because I think I might have thrown it at the recycling. Got like a little container for all the cardboard. And I think I might have thrown it there, and it might have landed in that, and I've just recycled it. So if anybody's got a spare one they want to bring into the shop or send to the shop, please do. I can do side by side, because it's the same amount of money, right, more or less, the AFX Club and the IPMS year membership. And it's like, I was going to do like, which club is best? It's obvious, right? It's the IPMS. The FX Club is garbage. It always has been garbage, but now it's like super garbage. So FX isn't getting better, or Hornby isn't getting better. We're still waiting for a bunch of stuff. I have my short Sky Vans arriving at the shop tomorrow, so people have pre-ordered those. We'll get those hopefully by the end of the week. But it's painful to see a brand which was doing so well, and as you all know, I had my issues with Hornby and their business practices, and obviously QC needed to change. But in terms of the design, in terms of the subjects they were choosing, the leadership that Dale was giving for the team, that was great, things like the Gannet and the Stalwart and, the Phantom, which will be coming out, all great. But yeah, never have I seen a company self-destruct so quickly, other than Jaguar, I guess. But it is sad to see. Anyway, if you want to see one of these kits, I'm going to put up a poll. Let me just put that poll up now. So the kits we have are this rather pretty Kitty Hawk SU1722. It's actually the UM, which is the trainer two-seat version. We have this Hasegawa Maschinenkrieger Camel. So these came into the shop today. So I have these and the Maskenbull, brand new Hasegawa deliveries. I've got a whole bunch more coming. So I'm now selling Maschinenkrieger kits in the shop, which is great. I'm a Maschinenkrieger convert. We've also got a couple of Panda models. I've never actually done a Panda models, and I've got some interesting ones. The TBMP T15 with a 57mm gun, which is quite an interesting vehicle, I think. And then also an experimental one, Kurganets 25 BTR Object 693. So a BTR and a BPMP. I don't think you can get much more Russian than that. And obviously these are modern developments and experimental versions thereof. So knock yourselves out. If you want to see one of those kits, we'll do that a little bit later. In other news, I've been expanding my paint mixing. So obviously I haven't completed. It's about, I don't know, 65% of the way through editing my World War II British AFV mixing video. Is it's all recorded. I just need to go and do the last bit of the editing. But I did a whole bunch of research when I had some time over the last couple of weeks on Cold War British, well, not Cold War, post World War II, so after World War II, to modern British aviation. So that's covering RAF, Royal Navy, and so Fleet Air Arm and Army Air Corps. So colours for all of that. I thought that would be a good one, as I'm on British. And then I've also done US for the same period. So I've actually just been mixing those now. There's an awful lot of greys. I mean, we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, like 17 greys, 17. So more than half of the colours I've mixed are different shades of grey. And then most of the other ones are green, and then there's a few browns, and that's about it. So obviously the Southeast Asia camouflage, and some of the, was it the Euro one? It's often described as the charcoal lizard pattern. And then the aggressor schemes, obviously, which are some of the more recent ones. So I've done all those. I've also done the same for the Soviet Union. So basically from the end of World War II all the way to 1991. So all the Soviet Warsaw Pact ones, Ukrainian colours, and I've done modern Russian as well. So have all of those. I've only started on the US one. I'm going to be doing the British one. I got the British script done. I've got the mixes for those. I've got to actually mix the colours and check them, because I always mix them physically, which I don't actually show on all the videos, but I do physically mix all of the colours that I show you guys. Let me just have a little scroll up and see if I've missed questions or comments. Question: how many subjects do you typically have on the go at any one time? I have 4 at the moment, which seems okay. One is 5 figures for Panzerkampfwagen, though. Okay. So I don't really have projects, like concurrent projects on the go in the way that I guess you guys have. I've got a lot of stuff. I mean, we literally dozens of projects going at the same time. But they're all for different sorts of things. So for actual physical builds, I've got basically the Hampton to finish and the 109. And those are the only 2 filming builds. I've also got the Nakajima, the Gecko, for member streams, which again I haven't managed to get to. Unfilmed builds I've done quite a lot of. I mean, there's this beast. So this is still in 2 halves. You're supposed to make it like this. If I were going to make it again, I wouldn't make it like this, because trying to put this correctly on here, apart from the fact that's the wrong way round, is going to be problematic, I feel. I think you could put this main chassis onto the bottom and then bring these side pieces in. I think would probably work better. But anyway, this is the Jaguar one. So this is the basically rocket tank destroyer, Cold War German thing. It has a couple of little options which I haven't actually cemented because I haven't really decided what I want. So I've left these pieces so they just So they just place on. Oops, I haven't actually cemented those either. I haven't cemented these because they'll just get broken if I do. So that's with the optical infrared guide thing. So I built that because I want to do a video on the camouflage and the weathering. So I have that. So I think it's fine to have concurrent builds, parallel builds, especially if they're different types of subject, because you can get you can just lose your not necessarily lose your mojo. Just building an aircraft is a very different flow from an AFV, for instance, and sometimes it's just nice to, this, especially something like this, which doesn't have any interior detail. So it is literally, you can put the whole thing together without opening a tin of paint, which is great. It's nice just to build something sometimes, whereas an aircraft, you can build up to a certain point before really you've got to do the interior, and then close it up. You've got to do the wheel wells, and you've got sub-assemblies and all that kind of thing. Very different structure. So it really depends, I think. How many is too many is the available space you have, whether you remember them. Lots of things like this. I actually have a board over on that wall with a whole bunch of stuff on, so I can track things. Okay, anyone who has interest in the Ferret, the Tank Museum has just released their guide to the Ferret. There are a lot of pictures for modelling and scratch building. That's excellent news. Thanks, Malcolm, for that. And Tamiya are bringing out an RSO in 1/35. Yes. See, this is one of the things with Tamiya. Tamiya released their, and I said this when I did the video on it, they released their 2026 catalogue for the half year, right? They don't do it for the entire year. And now we're seeing the things that they are, we've seen the Fukuisaurus and the Fukuraptor. Careful how you say those, because they weren't announced. They're brand new, and obviously the RSO is a brand new tool. It's not like an old thing or anything. So that's quite good. Interesting that they did that. Mini Art obviously had theirs last year, so the old Mini Art versus Tamiya, very different types of builds, I expect. Chroma says, comment, my Skyvans arrived today, not via Airfix, but Revell have pissed me off today. Oh, do tell, Chroma, what have they done? So yeah, I don't buy Airfix direct either. I've gone through a wholesaler. In fact, I did my pre-orders through a wholesaler right at the beginning of the year. So, Craig is in as well. Good evening, Craig. Adrian, question, have you got the Chaffee in stock? So I've had the Chaffee in stock and sold out, and because I had pre-orders and I sold them in fact, I think Rob, channel member, had the last one. The stockists are out of stock at the moment, the wholesalers, so I'm waiting for more to come in. I've got orders for them, but they're not in at the moment. So I'm not sure when they will arrive, but yeah. David of the Valleys. Alex, we knew that as the Jagdpanzer racket. Yes, indeed. It's, or as the Germans would say, the Raketenjagdpanzer. The rocket hunting tank. Jaguar 1. I just think it's such a weird looking vehicle. It's not a typical looking thing. And it's from such a particular time in history. I just think it's an interesting thing. The kit is okay. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's not bad either. It goes together fine. But having just built the Chaffee and then that, it's like, Yeah, this is not a Tamiya kit. A lot more cleanup on parts, not egregious, just stuff you have to do. So, for example, all of these smoke. Let's see if I can. All of these smoke dispensers here are individual. So they're attached on two sides, so you've got to take those off, obviously, and then there's a moulding seam all the way around it, so you've got to clean all of that up. So, which doing that 8 times for these was a bit like, you know, it's not the most pleasurable modelling activity. Same with this, well, whatever, it's basically a tube for a rocket, an anti-tank rocket. It's 2 halves, and it's obviously 2 halves, so, you know, the cleanup. I haven't actually cleaned it up yet. I thought I'd put it together first and then clean it up after. So yeah, it lacks the finesse of a Tamiya or an ICM kit, for example. But it's not bad. It's not bad. And it's an unusual kit. Das Werk do a version of it. It's the same base kit, I believe. So, yeah. Let me have a little look. Chroma says they've released the Star Trek 60th anniversary kits everywhere except the UK. But they come with paint, so none of my usual suppliers can ship to me. A tad annoyed. Yeah, that's annoying. Funny enough, Chroma, I was thinking of you today because I'm putting together the USS Voyager. So Tamiya do it. I think it's a nominal 1/600 scale or something. It's quite a big kit. It's like kind of this big when it's made. Mine didn't have the transparency frame in it. So I actually got in touch with Revell yesterday, and they got back to me immediately, just saying, you know, it's already in the post. Which, fantastic customer service, I must say. So the reason I'm doing the USS Voyager is because I want to showcase Chroma's paints, the accurate scale sci-fi paints. So I thought, well, if I do that, that's a perfect excuse for me to crack out those paints. So a review on those with the Voyager will be coming in the future. Okay. Oh, just ordered the Edward P51B. Indeed. So I think that was released on E-Day on the 17th. That was July the 17th. I almost went to the Czech Republic for it, but I couldn't fit it in with other things, and plus it's expensive. So I think it's coming out more or less now, isn't it, for everybody else? Yeah, because I think a fair few people have pre-ordered. Okay, looking at the poll, looks like the Kitty Hawk SU1722UM is doing quite well. Looks like 50% people want to see that one. That's always good. Oh, is it converted from the Canon? Okay, interesting. Didn't know that. Right. Okay. So what else was I going to say in terms of channel updates? So IPMS, I mentioned, Man's Model Moments is now an official IPMS branch. So we're a virtual branch. If you would like to join, you just need to join the channel at Sprue level, and that's the membership fee. Then you can get into the Discord, and there is an IPMS. Just you have to go to roles and just say what you've joined as, and if you're an IPMS member, I'll assign you those roles. So I need to set up. I have to request a table at Telford, and then we will work out who, if anybody, wants to come along and man the stand, bring along your models and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's really positive, and I'm quite looking forward to going to my third consecutive IPMS Telford show in a different role each time. So 3 years ago I went as a trader, last year I went as a creator, and this year I'm going to go as a club. So interesting development. Also need to look at having a model show, so I want to set up a model show. I probably don't have time to do it this year, I think, realistically. So let me know when you think would be a good month to do it, and I'll have a look around suitable dates, and obviously have to check with the Wincanton Memorial Hall that they have space at that time as well. But, you know, going forward a year, it shouldn't be too bad. Chroma says they have the P51B already. It's amazing, although a tad pricey at £95. However, the parts are exquisite and the book is awesome. Yeah, so £95. So price is one thing that has come up in a few different conversations of late about model kits. And I think and I've mentioned this before, the £100 sort of level for a kit is kind of the new, not standard, but it's a kind of new level at which I think somebody has for a statement piece, if you want to put it like that, around the £100 mark. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less. So there's a lot of 1/32nd scale stuff, 1/32nd scale aircraft coming out, which are around that £100 mark. So Qatari, brought out their kits at that level. We've got DBMK at about that level. We had Revell with their Gloucester Meteor, and now obviously Edouard with the P51B. So in terms of, is that pricey? It's like, well, it really depends, doesn't it? It's my usual response to any question, of course. It depends. It's the value you associate with it, right? What are you getting in that box to make it worth £95 for you, or £100 for you? So the Revell first edition Meteor came with 5 schemes. It came with the book. It came with photo etch, 3D printed decals, a lot of plastic in that box. That was worth £95, in my opinion. It was a lot of stuff, 2 engines, great detail in the cockpit, etc., etc., etc. The DBNK Sea Fury, exquisite detail, really well thought out kit, startup manufacturer, still able to get that price point in high pressure injection molded kit at £100. Again, I think that's worth it. It's a big aircraft, it's got the wing folds, all that provenance of the research, and for a startup company, pretty remarkable. The Airfix BF109 and Supermarine Spitfire in 24 scale, again, same sort of price. Again, a lot in that box, a lot of detail, a lot of modelling time. So it's kind of, what are you wanting out of your hobby? I guess is the ultimate part of it, because it's an experience, right? That time that you're spending with the kit is an experience, and it's that experience. If the experience is good and it lasts for quite a long time, how many nights at the pub would £100 get you? Not that many, in my experience. So yeah, it's interesting. On the other side, you can also then look at, well, for example, the 1/32nd scale Revell ME262, the BK5 armed version, which I've got an unboxing review in the can. That'll be coming out as well sometime soon. I think is very good value for money. It's similarly sized aircraft. It's a 2016-ish tooling, I think. It's not bad, the overall kit. You get the complete kit as well, and then you get an extra frame for the new BK5 version and the decals and everything. That's pretty good, right? And that's going to give you a comparable amount of modelling time for half the money. So it depends whether you are super invested in the subject or it's just modelling. That's very much one thing about it. And I believe the Revell ME262 is one of the most accurate in that scale as well, more accurate than a Trumpeter one, for example. So yeah, let's just scroll up a little bit just to make sure I'm keeping up with the chat, because it's quite active, which is always good to see. I don't want to miss people's comments and discussion. So just looked at the Airfix Club magazine. It's 2 full pages of Phantom artwork as well as Robin Hood. Yeah, it's awful. I mean, I looked at it and thought, just what is this? It's recycled articles. It's like a bunch of artwork, an editorial which is like a child could have written, because it probably did. It's just, it wasn't worth printing, really. And if they're using that to justify, I mean, I don't think there'll be an Airfix Club next year. I just don't. My hopes for Airfix are dwindling. I just really hope that they get the Phantom out. I hope that they get the Canberra out. I hope that they get all the stuff they promised, basically, released before Hornby go bust. That's my big hope. Current Fleet Yard says, comment, awesome, see you Telford, we're trading, also up for a show if you're looking for a trader. Excellent. Definitely. Yeah, because obviously when Bands Model Moments Club has the Wincanton show, I won't be exhibiting, the shop won't be exhibiting at the show, but the shop will be open. So it'll just, obviously I won't be there because I'll be at the show. But I thought there's no point in me having a stall there on a shop. Basically, I'm too lazy to take stock. that's why. But let me not beat around the bush. 1/32 scale, already painted, and it's a Mustang. What it cost you if you had to paint it? Say it was only 60 non-painted. Is that the... What is the P51's not pre-painted, is it? What's the point in that? Is it? I'm questioning my own sanity now. P51B Edward, 1/32. Have a little look. Kit offers markings for plastic parts, PE parts, painting mask. Yes, it's not pre-painted, right? Small parts and assembly, such copies and landing gear bays are produced using modern 3D printing. Blah blah blah. So it's a hybrid kit, basically. Yeah. You see, I'm not sure about hybrid kits. I said this when I reviewed the S199, which is a lovely kit, don't get me wrong, and the 3D parts are superbly printed, but, and it's quite a big but, I think, forcing people to use 3D printed parts, I don't think is the right solution. I think having them as an option, like their Profi kits, where you can opt to put the photo etch in, but you don't have to if you don't want to, if you find something too fiddly. Here with the hybrid kits, you have to. And I like my choice. As is demonstrated by the fact that I built this with interchangeable pieces, in the same way I built Voyager with the little thing at the back open and the little runabout shuttle not glued in. I don't like to have I don't like to be railroaded, I suppose, is the part of it. And I know you could ostensibly, I suppose, find ways to do it elsewise, but you're paying £95 for a kit. You don't want to find other ways, right? So yeah. Right. Oh, come on, Logitech Cam. Come on. Configure video. Don't autofocus. Come on, come back. There we go. Stupid thing. Okay, let's have a look. Crown Fleet Yard says, I must admit the under £50 is now the norm in the shop. Just trying to think. I know my average order value, which is under £50, the average order value, but there's a lot of people that buy, that come in and buy a couple of pots of paint and stuff. Quite a lot of people do still come in and buy a big, £70 kit. That's quite common. So I would. It depends. I'm going to say it again. There are different customers, right? I have quite a lot of people coming in with their kids who want, either the kids want some stuff or they're going to do stuff together, father and son or whatever. And their price point is obviously, it's the starter kits. It's kits around £15. It's that sort of thing. And then you have, and returning modelers, they tend to be in that sort of bracket, maybe a little bit more, to do the subject they want, £30 maybe. And then you have what I call modelers, they're different, right? We are immersed in this hobby, and the price point is, I think, less important than our own self-justification, right? I can justify almost any price for a kit if I can see that value. I can convince myself of that value. And I think that's very different than, somebody coming into the hobby or a casual buyer or whatever. So I've got quite a lot of mini art kits though. Afraid mini art only end up in my shop at a special, but they do sell, but not at full whack. I mean, I don't sell anything at RRP, so and I'm sure you don't, Chroma. At the end of the day, as I always say to people who come in the shop, you have to be able to compete with the internet. There is no point in giving somebody that comes into the shop a reason not to buy there and then. So if you can buy from my shop as cheaply as buying it from the internet, and you don't have to wait for postage, or cheaper, like if you get it from Amazon, but they're usually full price or more. So yeah, why give people that excuse to look? Everybody's got a phone now. You can look up. Okay, that's a good price. It's like that's at or a bit less than they're selling elsewhere for. Okay, I'll pick it up here then because they've only got one left. That kind of thing. Adrian says, painting the model is half the fun. It's where you can totally screw it and claim artistic license. Indeed. Let me know, Simon, what you meant though by that pre-painted bit, because I'm not seeing it certainly on the P51B, and I don't know if I missed something along the way. I'm sure I did. Chroma, comment agreed. I have some modelers who will pay, but my base have really shifted to 1/72 for some bizarre reason. It's funny, actually, Chroma, that you say that, because I have some customers who come in, and they buy a lot of 1/72 scale stuff, and they said it's quite difficult to find shops that do 1/72 scale, which is, I think, is really interesting, because of course that was what the hobby was built on, back in the 60s. And it still remains a popular scale. I think mainly because of size considerations, space considerations for people, and maintaining collections and things. And I know 1/48th is kind of become the standard for aircraft, 35th obviously for vehicles, and 1/32 is becoming more popular for aircraft. 1/16 scale is becoming more popular for vehicles. But it's interesting to see that people are still there looking for 1/72 scale, then you get the other end of the scale. Just got their Italieri Opel Blitz 4x4 bargain price of $19.99. Yeah, but it's not a new kit. Regardless of what they say, it's not a new kit. It's got some new bits, but a lot of it is still the old thing. Raymond Zeus says, my biggest complaint is getting German markings for World War II. I just hate all the politics. Hannants have extra decal. They sell all of your German markings that you could possibly. I have a stash of them in all different sizes that I can apply to any scale of German aircraft that I wish. Okay, here we go. It's the Border Models kit. Okay, thanks, Simon. And thank you, GW. I probably missed something. GW. Sorry, I get it now. GW. Thanks. Sorry, I'm laughing at my own idiocy in not reading that properly. The Border Models kit. Which Border Models kit is that? I've missed which. I didn't see a Border Models kit being mentioned. So let me know in the chat which Border Models kit that is, because that's a really odd thing to do, isn't it? That is really strange. Adrian says, I still haven't started the Border Models kit yet. Well, John and I both started it, and the engine. It's just the engine. I think it killed it for both of us. I was thinking about it the other day, John. I was thinking I should really get back to that and just soldier on with it. Because I'm sure the rest of the build, it can't be as bad as the engine, right? So both the Border Mustang and upcoming SBD are pre-painted. And now, that's an interesting direction. It's a bit like that meme. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see how that plays out for them. Because I think they've shot themselves in the foot with that. I think that is something like, what could we do to innovate and make it better? It's like, we could supply these pre-painted. It's like, and I think, especially people who buy Border Models kits, I think the majority of us is just going to go, no, switch off, I'm out. And it's just like, no, that's not why I'm buying a model. It's not a toy. It's not something I want to put together and fly around the room. It's not for that. So it's a creative, artistic process, and pre-painting it's like, no, just no. So I wonder if the sales will, show them that is not the way to go. Because that's a really bizarre move, isn't it? Really bizarre. Better if they pre-painted the pilots. Yeah, okay, John. Let's agree a new starting date. Let's get the let's do the Lightning and the 109 group builds, and then come back to having a look at the border models, Kate. Let's make it an autumn thing. It can be a Pearl Harbor anniversary build. There we go. That pushes it now into the future far enough. Well, GW, imagine trying to clean up seams and match the paint. Well, you need the paint mixer, don't you? So that's a new outlet for the paint mixer. I'll have to, because I've got a spectrophotometer, obviously, so I'll have to scan the border models kits and then put the spectra in as templates into the paint mixer, so that you can you can get a mix for that, and then do a video on them as well. So, yeah, that will be interesting, Simon. So Simon says it'd be interesting to see if Border release a non-painted version of the P51, and it'd be really interesting if they do that. What the sales figures? I'd love to see some of these sales figures. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in all these business stuff and be able to see the different things. Because if loads of people buy the P51B unpainted and hardly anybody buys the unpainted one, the painted one is going to have a huge amount. Well, it's China, so it'll be more expensive to produce. Not necessarily huge, because obviously China has some dubious human rights practices, but whatever, it'll still be more expensive to produce that, right? So if people vote with their feet and say, no, actually, this isn't what we want from a model kit, maybe that will stop that practice. Or maybe they found a new market. I don't know. Far be it from me to poo-poo it completely, and maybe they know something we don't, but I don't think so. Right. Okay. Tamiya's seam filling is dreadful on their pre-built models from the ones I've seen reviewed. I mean, a pre-built model is... It's a bit like die-cast for me. And I know some people take die-cast and they will strip them and paint them and redo stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about people who just buy pre-made die-cast models. My dad did. My dad had a bunch of aircraft. And I kind of see it if you've just got, I want to display a model. I really love the Vulcan. I want a Vulcan, so I buy this pre-painted, corgi thing, and it's like, there we go, I've got a Vulcan. But if you're a modeler, which my dad was, doing that as well, it's like, but you could have made that. And it's like, I don't know. It's not for me. And I appreciate, other people. Your mileage may vary. Everybody has their own preferences, but yeah, those kind of for me, that's more of a collector thing, not a. There's no creative process in it, right? It doesn't engage my brain at all. So, which I want to do in modelling to some degree. Now, let me just put my ICM paints away, and then we can actually get to this. Unboxing. So bear with me whilst I pop these back in something like the correct order. 1033, 1032, 1066. These are all my US colours. 1061, 1042, 1043, 1014. Got that in the wrong place. I got that in the wrong place. That goes in there. And then 1034. Where am I missing? Oh, that's the one I'm missing it. And that's it. I'm done. Good. So, let's stop the poll. Okay. 4-minute warning. Okay. if you haven't voted in the poll, vote in the poll if you want to see one of these kits. It looks like the Kitty Hawk SU17/22, the fitter, is going to be what we're going to be looking at. But you've got 3 minutes now to vote on that if you want it to be something different. I wonder if that pre-painted plane is for a different market. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. Is I mean, there may be a Chinese market for that just isn't present in the West, because China has. It's funny actually. I can't remember where I saw this, but China has an indigenous and growing modelling community that really wasn't present, say, 10 years ago or so. And of course, China's huge, so it's a lot of people. So potentially that could be a very big market for them. And if they want that, then that will sustain it all in. I've seen the sprites. You'll be amazed how sprue gates are hidden within the build. I have many pre-orders. We'll see. And the P51 is the same price as the non-painted border kits. Yeah. Okay. Question, going back to your club stand at Scale Model World, Alex, will you have any of your washes on sale? No, because clubs can't sell stuff. But anybody that wants to place an order before a Scale Model World, I can bring things with me and give them to you. So if you buy and then just put pick up in store and then just put a little note saying, to pick up at Telford, then I can do it that way. That's a way around it, but I can't bring anything to actually sell. I suppose die-cast models don't damage as easily as plastic kits. Depends how high you drop them from. Because obviously gravity works more on heavier objects. So, yeah. And indeed, there are more Chinese than any of us. Okay. 1 minute left on your voting. Now, I get that these kinds of things. So Russian subjects are not particularly the flavour of the month at the moment, and rightly so. I abhor the illegal invasion, but they have some weird stuff, and I've always appreciated weird stuff. And this is a Panda model, this is a Chinese model, so it's not. I don't buy any Russian. I don't stock Zvezda kits in the shop. I do have a few Zvezda kits left from pre-war stock. They don't sell, and they don't sell because people don't want them, because people don't like the way Russia goes about its business. Putin, obviously, rather than the general populace. Right, poll is over. And yep, 50% for the Kitty Hawk SU17 and 32% for the Hasegawa Mac Camel. So let's end that poll. Oh, it's nice that it gives you a little summary there. So I did a Bronco kit of Bronco, another Chinese manufacturer, of course. A Bronco kit of the J20, and I also did a Zvezda SU57, which I bought years ago, both on the channel, and they did about the same as each other, I think, roughly. But let's have a little look. So, I got these in the shop. it's a very I basically got it because of this scheme, because I think it's an awesome scheme. Also, you should never buy kits. You should never buy stock for any business because of your own personal interests. You should try and, as I said, Russian subjects aren't particularly popular at the moment, but the SU-17/22 isn't used by Russia at the moment. It's obviously obsolete in that respect. It was used by a lot of Warsaw Pact countries and was taken over into those countries. So there's a lot of markings here. This one's Polish, obviously. It has quite a few different ones. So it's Polish. It has a East German. No, 1994. It's just unified Germany. It does have a Soviet one. It has a Hungarian one. I think it does have a Ukrainian one as well, and a Czech. So the Ukrainian one is actually quite an interesting scheme. That's a 4-colour one. No, it's... How many colours is that? 2 greens, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 colour. 5 colour. Well, plus the underside 6-colour scheme. So the Su-17, obviously, swing wing strike aircraft. I mean, if you're going to do it, for me, it's got to be this, right? So I'll put you on the overhead shortly, but there's a Kitty Hawk kit. Obviously, it's a really solid corrugated box, and if I switch you over, I actually need to put my camera on for you to be able to see, otherwise that's going to be a bit disappointing. And let's take that off automatic onto manual, so we don't have that autofocusing all the time. And let's drag this keystone correction here so you can see that, and then put you on that screen. So let's make this full screen. That's better. There we go. Very, very full box. So this is quite a deep box, and it is basically packed to the brim with individually bagged frames. Nice individually bagged clear transparency frame there. Looks very nice, especially in some of these pieces with the integrated like periscope that they had. One thing I noticed about Kitty Hawk kits is they have very, very delicate runners. Look how thin these are. It does mean the frames are a bit wobbly, but you do get nice thin injection gates. So you're getting a lot of plastic. Looks like you've got basically a complete engine. All the swing ring mechanism here, the tail horizontal stabilizers, lots of the interior, lots of ordnance. That is just complete bag of ordnance, 2 bags of ordnance, 3 bags, 4 bags full of ordnance, and then the Kitty Hawk instruction booklet. Take a look at that shortly. And then those beautiful decals, main decals, and you've also got a little fret of photo etch for things like the seat belts, and it looks like some trim pieces. So that all looks good. Let's put all of that back for a second. can tell I've been mixing paint, look. And here, just to prove, there's your 31 US colours. As I say, lots of greys. Very pleasing instruction booklet. It's like that, got that satin finish on it. It's quite strokeable. These are a little bit small, I must say. You need to strain your eyes to find any parts on these. So that's not ideal, but you know, hopefully we won't have any problems with that anyway. And wow, they are dense instructions. There's an awful lot going on in these. So I can see these, if this booklet was A4, I'd be more comfortable with this. I mean, I'm okay with it, but if your eyesight isn't great, these are pretty small. You know, this is an A5. Is it A5? Yeah, I think it is. Isn't it? Looks like A4-ish, anyway. So to have that subdivided into 3 with so many bits going on is a little bit much, I feel. My Riccarton Jagdpanzer is in the way. As is my microphone. There we go, that's better. So we do get the complete engine assembly, which is nice, including, looks like a multi-part engine baffle. Exhaust, it's good. So, this all looks fairly straightforward. It all looks like it's pretty detailed. The instructions look very nice. I just wish they were a little bit bigger. As I say, I think that would be a little bit more inclusive, you know. And then interesting that you get, typical thing that you get on like computer games or that kind of thing, with the ordnance and what it can store on each of the pylons. And then we get the marking guides. This is very nice. Very nicely printed. There's a lot going on though. Again, the size of this that's pretty small for having all of these lines on, and you probably can't see, but then that's because I can't see either. These lines go into this dark area of the camouflage here, and it's just like, well, it could be anywhere there, right? I would have honestly preferred if this was black and white for the placement of all of these stencils and decals. This is beautiful, but this is where use of colour has to be intelligently thought out, and the colour here is actually detracting from the purpose of this sheet, which is basically to tell you where things go, because there's just lines going into like dark colours, which doesn't really work. It also doesn't really work for the camo either, because this is that there is a distinction between two colours, and it's pretty vague because of how close the camouflage colours are. So whilst this looks nice, it's actually quite useless, actually, which is a bit disappointing, really. This is much better, right? Because you can actually see the distinction between the colours on this. Still, where you've got very dark camo, you can't really see where these pieces go. German one suffers the same problem That's that Hungarian. It's a little bit better because it uses lighter camouflage colours. Oh, now the Czech one, interestingly, what they haven't done on the others here, where it goes over the line, it's gone to a white line, which they haven't done really, or if they have, the printing's just not. Yeah. Ukrainian version. And this is nice though for all the different pieces of ordnance, including these gun pods, which were used obviously to strafe the ground. That's quite nice. So looks nice. It's nice to stroke. Utility of it, I would have hoped for a little better, to be honest. Right, what do you want to have a look at? Let's just go for this first bag. Okay, so the first thing I'm noticing here is this is very, very nicely molded. So it's really clean. There's tiny little bits of flash on some of the runners, but nothing on the parts. And this, hopefully you can see, got nice crisp panel lines, got this very nice panel here with lots of riveting. So if you don't know, fitters had a cannon in the wing root, so this is basically an unpainted, I think it's just steel blast deflector basically. Got some really nicely engraved access panels here with their access fixing studs here, all indented. Very nice little grill there. So superbly molded. Lovely instrument panel. Great detail. I'll put it on super macro vision in a second. And the same for these wheel bays. These look really good as well. So far it looks excellent. You've got some really fine little pieces. I think this is a pitot tube, and very fine, perfectly molded. This all looks pretty excellent, I must say. Now, macro. Show you a little. Oh, we need the light. There we go. I've frozen it. I didn't mean to freeze it. There we go. So that's the instrument panel. A little bit of cleaning up needed just in the edges, but bear in mind this is 1/48 scale. This isn't 1/32. So pretty clean for the scale. Here is the tooling. Those very nicely engraved panels. There's a little grill. Where's that big steel blast deflector? There you go. Typically Soviet, very industrial. But that looks great. messed up the position. Yeah. So very nice for that. Let's have a look at our clear frame, because there are a couple of things so this is really interesting. If I hold that there, it should be able to focus. There we go. So you have this piece here in the second cockpit, which has this little periscope that pops up that enables the rear pilot to get a better view for landing, etc. So really interesting. I mean, he doesn't get much of a view other than that, if you can see, because they've hazed the area which is actually to be painted. So you can see he basically gets, you know, the sides here, whereas the pilot, you know, the main pilot gets this full view. Does have this little piece at the front here as well. Sorry, but not the best view in the world in an SU 17/22. These are those very prominent lights. I think that's for the heads-up display, wing lights. This all looks very, very clear optically. So the old Swan Morton test. Obviously, it's going to be distorted because of curvature. But if there we go. If we do the getting it on a flat angle, it's very clear. Very little optical distortion through the plastic itself. That's actually the curve which is doing that. So very nice, clear transparency there. This is. You can really tell, I think, from the front. You know, this main piece of any aircraft. Look at that. That's beautiful. No distortion or optical anomalies or anything in that. Very nicely made. Yeah, I agree, Travis. The fit is the key to deciding if, well, any kit really is good, but yeah. It's a bit like Dragon. You know, Dragon made some beautiful kits, and some of them went together well. I mean, you get a huge, huge amount of weaponry. If you are short of 1/48 scale Soviet era weaponry, then Kitty Hawk have you covered. But I think we really want to see bits of the aircraft more than that. That is mainly. Okay, so we have some interesting pieces here. Let's have a look. I really need to change the blade on my scalpel. This is not cutting. It's tearing. So again, some interesting weapon pieces here. Let's just make sure we're focused. But we have some really nice tooling again. These side consoles are very nice, and then we have very complex ejection seats. So when you have injection molded seats that are like this, I wouldn't bother with resin. You've got a nice cushion here as well, and then you've got the photo etch belt. So I don't think getting like a resin or 3D printed or anything replacement would improve this really, when you've got this kind of injection moulding. So obviously you have that twice because it's a two-seat aircraft. So let me just show you some of that in Super Macro Vision. Show you some of those side consoles. If they will actually up there we go. Come on. So pretty good side console in 1/48 scale. We've also got a little throttle quadrant there for the engine. So obviously we've got a lever to go in there. Yeah, and these are some of the ejector seat pieces. A little bit of cleanup needed on these. But otherwise you've got some really nice elements. So that looks very nice. I disagree, Chroma. I think Dragon Fit is absolutely something. Their JU88 in 48 scale may be good, but try doing some of the other things. In my experience, Dragon Fit is definitely something. So some excellent pieces here as well. Let me just again. So you can really see it here, you know, in terms of the engraved detail on this kit. This is all going to pick out washes really nicely. You've also got this interesting curve on this, which I'm not sure it's supposed to be, but it's thin enough that it will be pulled in. Really nice pieces like these strengthening strakes along the wings, which were just bits of metal which were riveted to the wings. Very Soviet. And then this super complex piece at the back, which I think had the radar warning array and the parachute, landing parachute, and again some really nice detailing here, and that's where the cannons, I think they were 23mm. Camera with manual focus. So this has autofocus, Casey, but the autofocus is dreadful. It goes all over the place. So hence the manual focus. Right, I think just want to have a look at the engine, and I think we'll call it done on that. So not a bad engine from the looks of it in terms of the detail on it. Interesting how we've got to put it all together. So some nice detail on the hubs here. Some of these little bits look like a tad crude compared to the rest of it, but I don't know whether that's just because the actual parts in the aircraft were quite crude, because some of them really were. So some of the development of Soviet aircraft was literally, in fact, one of the interceptors they developed had a real problem with buffeting because it was ingesting more air than the engine could deal with. So it basically used to back up, and then you get these kaboom, kaboom compression waves. And the engineers' way of dealing with that was they got somebody to go out to the aircraft, cut 2 holes in the back, and then that solved the problem. So yeah, it was a little bit industrial at times. So we do have, some flash on this. You can see that all the way along that front, and on some of these IFF aerials, just little bits. Not egregious, but just there on a few pieces. You do have some very nice detail on the inside of the very thin undercarriage doors. I mean, these remind me of the English Electric Lightning. They were basically 2 pieces of pressed metal riveted together, and that's all there was room for. Interesting. We've also got some detail on the inside here of that piece, this engine piece. So let me just show you that wheel bay door. So kind of really good impression. Shame you won't see much of it when it's made, but that's the same with many areas of kits, isn't it? Come on, stop wobbling. All right, let me switch back to the old webcam. Why have I got a line across my... what that is? Let me just scroll up and have a little look at comments. We need to scroll up. Alrighty, I think we need to separate historical Soviet subjects from modern Russian ones, besides which it's doubtful how much influence a model company has over what Putin does. No, that's true, and I've said this before, I have nothing against Zvezda as a company, but at the end of the day it still pays taxes to the Russian government, so it's still indirectly funding that regime, so I wouldn't want any dollars I spent, or rubles or whatever, to end up by whatever indirect means, killing Ukrainian of any description. So I do think it's important to distinguish the two, and I have no problem with doing Russian subjects. I wouldn't do a modern Russian subject like a current strike aircraft, particularly because it's almost not overtly, but it's almost saying something about the regime. If that aircraft doesn't exist anywhere else, then maybe, like the Su-57. But if it's like an Su-24, it's just like, well, I'd do it in Ukrainian colours because they use the Su-24 as well. So yeah, it's down to everybody individually. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that because somebody might think I support Russia, modern Russia, which I don't. So yeah, it's down to everybody, and modelling and politics inevitably overlap because people overlap, and it's only representing people. But at the end of the day, this is a hobby, so you should be able to make what you want, Locke said, never bought a Kitty Hawk kit. I've never done a Kitty Hawk kit either, and I thought I should remedy that. Is that Tiger Scheme same as the Tornado kit version as well? I have no idea. No idea, Graham. Sorry. In fact, that's a thing. Could look at the decals, couldn't we? That's a good shout. Let's have a look at these decals. They're resealable as well, so you get a lot. You get a lot here. So it's a little photo etch. In fact, let me put you back to the screen. Let's move that out of the way. So, little photo etch, obviously wrapped in or backed with plastic to keep it protected. And then we've got 1, 2, 3 sheets of decals. So the Tiger decals, we should just be able to, there we go. I'll just take off one side so I can still put them back over. So very glossy. So you get the main body. That's a big decal. I might be a bit nervous. And then these ones, which are obviously made so that they will curve over and join up with themselves. And these little pieces. Kind of got an odd surface. I don't know if you can see that. Kind of odd kind of way that it's textured. Maybe it's just how it's printed, I don't know. But I mean, they look pretty nice. I've not used decals on a Kitty Hawk model before, so I can't speak to the quality of them, but I mean, they look fine. So we'll look at the various national markings. Ooh, now this looks very good. So register on these is perfect. Got good colour density. Colours look pretty good as well. I mean, they're very nicely printed. You've got like these pieces here. It looks like if you could read Russian, you could, or Ukrainian or whatever these are, you could read what they said. So these look pretty good. And then the one that everybody loves to hate, a million stencils. Stencils of doom. I like the way they've got the decals printed on a clear film so that you can paint the console and then put these over. Don't think I would use the decals for the sides, to be honest. I think I'd be just better painted. Cute little rhino. Again, you know, the actual writing here looks pretty good. Let me show you those in super macro. Usually easier to show this sort of stuff. Okay, they're not quite as crisp when you put them under this sort of magnification, but this is, I must say, very magnified, given that, just to give you an idea, that is the tip of my scalpel. So, you can actually read them. There's a little bit of bleed on the edges, but I don't think that's anything you would see yourself if you're following my drift. There's the instrument panels. I'm not sure that green is printed quite in register. So certainly not cartograph quality, not up to the quality of something like ICM or cartograph decals. Slightly off register with that printing. Again, will you notice that? I mean, visually inspecting it here. So I have my glasses on, which are for modelling, to pick out detail and stuff. I can just tell that that's slightly not in register by maybe 1/4 millimetre. Now, is that something that anybody's going to notice on your model? Probably not, right? But that's very much up to you whether, that's acceptable or not. I don't know what they like to use. I'd be more confident about this if I knew how they are to use. But they don't look bad. Yes, you look at them in super close up, and there's a tiny registration issue, but not one that is noticeable to the naked eye unless you're examining them extremely close up. So I think it's probably within the margins of most people's error, let's say. Oh, let's put the photo etch back in there as well, lest we forget. And we'll go back to webcam. Raymond says, I've built 2 Kitty Hawk kits. The attachment points are small. Careful cleanup, they build up very nicely. Okay. Thanks for letting us know, Raymond. Chroma, comment, where did you get those SU-17s from? I think they came from Amarang, I think. So they should be in the shop. Obviously, they're in the shop at the moment, but they should be on the website. Fingers crossed tomorrow. Those paint chips are awesome. So, these, believe it or not, are... where did I put that? Okay, so I made this. And yes, I will put it on for sale in the shop, but I just haven't got round to it. So I made this vertical set for it holds all the complete range of ICM paints. Right? Yes, I am missing one metallic out of there. So when you cut those holes, you obviously get left a load of these. So what I then do is I blue tack them into a box, and I spray them all white, and then I use them for when I do paint mixing. I use them as little paint chits. So obviously you saw on the back there, that one is US 2.16. So, which if I go to my Excel sheet, US 2.16 is modern radome grey. and F35 ram tape. So that goes with, so that is F35 grey. That is the early ram tape, because the modern ram tape is the same colour now. So this approximates to FS 36170, which isn't 100% because obviously the F35 coating and the Have glass that preceded it it's a coating. It's not just a paint, so it has like some metallic elements in it and like a sheen to it. So there are other elements to the finish other than just the pure colour. But as far as the colour goes, that's as close as you'll get to it. So yeah, lots of greys, lots and lots of greys. Obviously, Vietnam comes up with the Southeast Asia camo, which is one of the better ones, and then you've got the Euro 1 scheme, and then the aggressor schemes. That's where you get the colour. For operational aircraft, it's mostly grey. So after World War II, you get silver, and then Korea shows that they need camouflage again, and then it's mostly grey. Comment, oh, definitely getting some of those. Okay, excellent. Comment, talking about Soviet kits, ICM do a brilliant thing to the boxes. Yes, so Andy, good to see you, Andy. Didn't see you pop in. So Andy saw the old Soviet subjects that ICM do. They actually scrub out the Soviet insignia on the boxes before they even leave the factory. So they've obviously got old stock. They just scrub all of those out. So there's big silver patches, circles on them. Where are we? So June had to shoot off. Just checking now. People talking about PE. Ooh. So Casey is experimenting with a Lanata 24B opasometer chart to save work. Get 14 data points per drawdown card. Wow, that's a big improvement. Oh, Doug Smith's here. Good to see you, Doug. I've seen someone paint a Sherman in chrome. Why? Maybe they took inspiration from my Stalwart. It's a future Stalwart. Somebody bought that. Somebody actually came into the shop and bought it. It's like, which something I've been thinking of doing is just putting my models for sale. If people want to buy them, I don't expect that there'll be a huge run on them or anything. But for me, the joy of a model is in making it, and displaying it is nice. But I don't mind having a continual turnover because they're all stuff that I've done. So I'm happy for people to see them. I'm happy for the shop to act as a showcase for them and what is possible with that base kit. But if people also would enjoy them having one, then why not? Lox9 says, question, how many months of work would it take to get mixes for AK Real Colour or Mr. Colour, and what equipment would I need? Do you mean to create ladders for the AK or Real Colours? It's a lot. I mean, it took Casey months to do just the Tamiya aqueous acrylics. And she knows what she's doing. not that you don't, Lox, but it's a lot, and yeah, It is a lot. So as Casey says, you kind of need 14 data points for a paint to be in the mixer, and like different mixes with white and black effectively. And if you've got a paint range of 200 colours, that's 200 times 14 as a base, right? So it is a lot of work, you know. And people say, "Oh, could you do Vallejo?" It's like, no, you know, they've got like, what is it, like 600 colours or something now. So you know, who's going to do 9,000 readings to do that? You know, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, you know, even doing it for Humbrol or Revell would be a lot. So yeah, so there we go. Tamiya was about 1,500 samples. So yeah, paint mixer. If anybody is interested in the paint mixer, you just need to be a sprue level or higher member, and go into the Discord. I will update the members only post in YouTube that gives you the access to the Discord. Ask for your role in the roles channel, and then you'll be able to see the paint mix bit. And you just need to DM me to get you on the database. And it's web based, so it'll work on you know, it'll work on your phone, it'll work on PC, it'll work on Apple or whatever, and it works really well. And we've got quite a lot in the catalogue. You know, we will be expanding that as time goes on, so it'll only get more useful, hopefully, to people as we build out that. Because as I mentioned in all my videos, you can mix anything, right? The important thing is, what are you mixing to? You know, what is your target? That's the important thing. And once you've got that target, then you can play around with, you know, lights and darks, and, you know, whether you want it scaled or whatever. Really good example actually is in the US colours, because obviously since the 50s everything in the US has been to federal standards. So federal standards are great because we've got federal standard decks from the original ones, which are scanned in the app, and with updates as they've gone on. So we know what the colours are. You know, we know the spectral curves of those colours. But one of them, International Black, is black, right? So that is basically ICM Black. And ICM Black is a very good match for International Black right out of the pot. But I wouldn't recommend using that on a model. Why? Because it looks too dark, because you have nowhere to go from that. So I would scale that on a model, because on a model it will look slightly lighter. In the same way, you also have NATO Black. You see, NATO Black is actually I mean, you can really see the difference on camera here. Probably more so than in reality, but it is noticeable. I mean, that is 3 lots of black with 1 of German grey. So it's hardly any different in terms of the mix, but look how much of a difference it is. If they were both against different colours, so if I give you a splinter pattern with those, and say, okay, it looks the same, right? And if I change it, can you tell the difference? No, you can't, because that's the same one I just showed you. But it's really difficult to tell, right? If you've got them all together, let's do it that way. Okay, now it's easy to tell, right? So comparative contrast is a big thing as well, and what colours something else is paired with makes a difference to how it looks. It's the whole, is it blue or gold dress? I can't remember which colours it was now. But it's that kind of thing. So Casey's just going through what you need. So spectrophotometer, paint, accurate scales, a way to measure paint density, if you want volume mixes, drawdown equipment, and make 12 drawdown cards of ladders of paint. And then obviously the ladder, pure paint, 6 mixtures with white, 5 with black and grey. Some paints need much more. So yeah, that's the other thing is, and some of the colours in the app I've mixed stuff with, and I haven't been happy with what it looks like, and then I've taken a reading from it, it hasn't matched. And it's because of the core data, and Casey's gone back and done reanalysis, and so we're continuously iterating to make it as accurate as possible. Because some paints, if you can imagine, and your results might actually be slightly different than the paint mixer. Why? Well, paints aren't actually identical all over the world. They're made in batches. The batches do vary. You know, they'll vary in density. If you've got one that's been sitting for a while, or if you've left the top off a bit and it's a bit more dense than normal and you're going by volume, you know, there's all these variables that can get in. What difference will it actually make to the final colour? Probably a small amount, but it depends what you're mixing, right? If you're mixing a lot of white with a little bit of something else in, then it can vary quite a bit because you've got something with such a different mix. So when I do mixes, I often try to avoid colours which a small variation in either one will make a big variation in the outcome, right? So it sort of allows for some inaccuracy. So like I said before, that NATO black mix of 3 black, 1 German grey, if you get 3.5 black and 1 German grey, is it going to look massively different? No, it's not. It's going to make a very small deviance, and actually your eye probably won't even pick it up, right? So if you've got a fairly robust mix like that, then yeah, if you were mixing 7 parts of white with 1 part of red, if you get 1.1 parts of red instead of 1, is that going to make a big difference? Possibly yes, right? Because it's such a strong colour that you're mixing with something that isn't. So it really depends. Colours aren't all equal. And then of course you've got you know, all the other effects, things that you layer on top, and I could talk about paint for hours, as you know. But there are lots of schools of thought. You know, some people say there's no point in talking about what's the most accurate colour and stuff. And I kind of agree and disagree. So I sort of have a Schrodinger's cat kind of approach to that, because yes, I get it. You know, colours fade, they degrade, they weather, they've blah-de-blah-de-blah-de-blah. But that's almost like saying, well, you can put whatever colour you like on it. It's like, yeah, but that colour will fade and do all that sort of stuff in a certain way from a base, which will be different from one that has a different set of pigments in. So it'll look colder or it'll look warmer or anything. So if you're getting the character of the paint, then I think broadly speaking, yeah, you're correct. You can do it, you know, have lots of variation. I think what you have to do is have the intent of preserving that character of the subject, right? Anyway, moving on. Comment: I did this with Orion Publishing regarding colour profiles. Did what? I'm not sure what you mean, Andy. Let me know. I find my scales are off because if I put a drop of paint on the scales, it does not move, but it does on the second drop. It's probably, yeah, if you really, they don't have to be super duper scales. You can get a fairly cheap set of scales, but they need to be for the right sort of like measure. So you need sort of like jewelry scales that can measure fractions of a gram really, ideally, or like, very small amounts, because otherwise you're below the threshold of what the scales are designed to do. So cooking scales, kitchen scales won't work. So unless you're mixing a lot of paint, which I don't recommend necessarily. I tend to work in volume, principally because I kind of want to be, and close your ears, Casey, I kind of want to be a bit messy and a bit like inaccurate in a way, because I want, again, going back to the prior thing, I want the mixes to be robust enough to do that. I would rather encourage people to get mixing paint than say, you've got to buy an accurate scale, you've got to use mass, all this sort of stuff. It's like, let's get to mixing the paint. If you're mixing, 1 + 1 + 1 of 3 different paints, and it actually turns out as 1.1, 0.9, 1.2, the shade might be a tiny bit out, at the end. But again, is that better than just choosing a nearest paint, which is going to be like 5D out? It's getting to understand the paint. I would much rather people do that. And the more you're drawn into it, like with anything, you can get more pedantic about it. But I think the initial thing is, do volumes, just to get into it, just to actually be mixing paints to see what it can do for you. I also really like mixing paints, and you think, especially I'll come out with a paint mixer sometimes, and it gives you this formula, and you think, really? I've seen the colour of the paint, it's on an RGB chip on a monitor, and you think, okay, but it's not going to be that, that doesn't look anything like the colours that I get. And then you mix the colours, and then magically it just appears to be that colour, and it's just like, well, there you go. Pigments do some interesting things sometimes when they interact, and it's just like getting these colours so that you mix them together, and then suddenly it's like, no, that is that colour. I can't really argue with that. I think one of the best ones is this US Desert Sand, which absolutely looks, it looks like flesh there, doesn't it? It looks kind of the colour of my skin. Actually, it's not a bad match. And it absolutely has that quality where in some lights it looks pink, and in some lights it looks sand. It's got that, quality that the FS colour has of those Hummers in the desert that, depending on where they are, some look pink, some look sand, and it's because of that spectrum, and it's like, I find it quite marvellous, that you can get that kind of thing. But so thank you, Casey. So I think that is 10 o'clock. So I think we're out of time. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. I know it's a bit meandering. I didn't have particular plans. As I say, thank you for the poll and the Kitty Hawk kit. I think it's an interesting one. I've always liked the Fitter because it's such a weird aircraft in that era where swing wings were in vogue. It was quite a weird looking swing wing, as a lot of sort of Soviet interpretations of technology were. And it was used by, as you saw from the decal sheets, used by a lot of Warsaw Pact nations, and obviously nations after the fall of the Soviet Union. And that scheme, I think, is brilliant. So I'm interested to do that, and obviously I've been doing all of the colours to be able to support that. And it'd be interesting as well to see, like, this is another thing just on the paint chits, like these little bits that I do. I like to have them all like laid out. It gives you a sense of the character of the nation, and the Soviet ones are just bizarre. It's just like some astonishingly pretty colours, and you just think, how is that camouflage? But very, very different from the US, very different from anything really. The British ones have a certain character. You do get to sort of get a sense of the feeling of the pigments that they were using. You might not know the pigments, but you get a feeling that, okay, these are really around this sort of, these warm tones, or, they tend to go for like strong pigments or subdued ones or whatever. So I think it adds a lot to the whole experience, but that's me. So anyway, thanks guys for joining, and you sort of got a bit of a Tuesday Talk ramble in with the midweek model meet. As I say, the various kits should appear on the website shortly, and colour variation. Andy Bowden mentioned colour variation. He saw that I was doing some bits on that. I've got a video on that coming up. Still got to tie them all together, and I've got a couple more bits to do, but that will be coming. And other than that, have a great week. See you on Friday night on Scale Modelling Live. Should be a video out tomorrow. We'll see. Probably an unboxing. But until that, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.